Hello there, Earthling, and welcome back to...
Review.
What is that?
Mike review.
I need to know that you believe.
Mike review.
Go ahead and chant.
Review.
Mike review. Mike review. Mike review.
Review.
Thank you. Today I am back with a review of the Audix OM3, a hypercardioid handheld dynamic. It costs about $170. I did buy it with my own money. I will throw some links in the description down below. All of my recording settings will be listed in the doobly-doo as well as the description. And now let's talk about what comes in the box. Holy Toledo, you're going to get a storage bag, the microphone, a microphone clip, a 5/8 to 3/8 inch microphone stand adapter, and a little bit of documentation. Then as far as the build quality, I have zero complaints about this thing. It feels incredibly robust. It has an all-metal body and chassis, a metal mesh grille with absolutely zero give to it. As we look around the sides, there is nothing. On the bottom, you have the XLR port, and whether you care or not, it was assembled and tested in the USA. I am not going to read all of the specs to you, but I will have the graphs up on screen, and I'll also list all of the specs in the description down below in case you want to dive a little bit deeper into them. Now I am spinning around the OM3 to 90 degrees to show you that off-axis coloration. Continuing around to 180 degrees, this is the rearish of the mic. Continuing around to the second 90-ish degree angle, and then rotating and ending at the front of the microphone. Now let's hear how this thing handles plosive rejection from a few inches away. Please provide pizza pronto. Please provide pizza pronto. Please provide prepared pizza pronto, pals. And now with my lips touching the grill. Please provide pizza pronto. Please provide pizza pronto. Please prepare perpeed papu papi papu papi. There you go. Now I am right on top of the microphone to exaggerate the proximity effect, and here is how it's sounding. Now I'm about 3 inches off of the OM3, and here is how it's sounding. Now about 6 inches off of the Audix OM3, and here's how it sounds. Now here is 1 foot away from the OM3, about 2 feet away from the OM3, and because so many people will do this, here is how the Audix OM3 sounds 4 feet away. Now I am typing on Gatoron blue switches to see how much of that the OM3 can reject. And for the gamers, here are the SAD W and spacebar keys. Now here is how the OM3 sounds about 3 inches from my mouth in a relatively well-treated room. And now here is how the OM3 sounds about 3 inches from my mouth in a completely untreated room. Now I want to hear how well the microphone and the mount do at rejecting shocks, so I'll start by tapping on the desk. And then I will tap on the boom arm. I'm also going to tap on the mic to see if there are any kind of resonant frequencies. Now, although I don't recommend it, I want to include a cupping of the mic test, so here is how it sounds with the grill unimpeded. As I wrap around the microphone, here is how it sounds, not the worst. Here is how it sounds without my hand covering the grill, and then covering the grill again, here is how it sounds. Also, because this is a handheld microphone, let's hear how it does with handling noise rejection. I'll pass it back and forth between my hands. And then if I tap it. Now we do very big competition between OM3 and other competition. This is the Audix OM3 3 inches off with my gain set at 45 decibels. Let's hear the first mic. Starting on the Behringer XM8500, I am 3 inches off with my gain at 45 decibels. This microphone costs $25, and here's how it compares to the Audix. back on the Audix OM3, same distance, running into the Focusrite 18i20 4th Gen. Let's hear another one. Next, I am on the handheld dynamic, the Shure SM58, 3 inches off, gain still at 45 decibels. Check the lower third to see how much I boost each of these in post. This microphone costs about $100. Let's do a whole lot more. Back on the OM3, the conversion is 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. Let's hear the next mic. Now I'm on the Sennheiser E835, 3 inches off. All of the recording settings are identical, same distance, same gain setting. This microphone also costs about $100. That's enough talking. Let's go back to the Audix. This is the OM3 again, and all of the air processing on the Focusrite is off. Let's go to another one. Next, I'm on the SE Electronics V7, 3 inches off, gain still at 45 decibels. This microphone costs about $100, and that should be enough of a sample. Let's hear the OM3 again. Back again on the Audix OM3 for a palette cleanser. Let's jump to another mic. Now I'm on the Audix OM2, about 3 inches off with my gain still set at 45 decibels. Make sure to check the lower third. This microphone costs about $140, and here's how it sounds compared to its bigger-ish brother, the OM3. Alright, we're back on the OM3. This is another palette cleanser. Let's hear another mic. Now I am on the AKG D5 with all of the settings and distances identical. 3 inches off, 45 decibels, 24, 48. This microphone costs $120, and that is the AKG D5. This is the Audix again, blah, 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 talk, talk, talk. That's enough. Let's go to another one. Now I am on the Shure Beta 58A, say it with me, 3 inches off, gain at 45 decibels, 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. This microphone costs about $150, and that is the Beta 58A. Here I am on the OM3 again to clear out your ear holes and let you hear it. Let's hear some more. Now I am on the Mojave MAD, 3 inches off, gain still set at 45 decibels. Make sure to check the lower third to see how much I boost each of these in post. This microphone costs about $180. That is the Mojave. I know we are more than halfway done. Here is another palette cleanser on the Audix OM3, 3 inches off. Let's do some more. All right, now I am on the Sennheiser E935, 3 inches off, gain at 45 decibels. Last dynamic of this comparison. This microphone costs about $200 dues, and there you go, the E935 against the Audix OM3. All right, this is the Audix OM3 again. I have nothing more to say. Let's hear some more microphones. Now onto some handheld condensers. First up is the Earthworks SR117, 48 volts on, gain still set at 45 dB, about 3 inches off. This microphone costs about $200, and here is how it sounds compared to the OM3. Here I am on the Audix OM3 again. Are you shocked? You shouldn't be. What's shocking is this next mic. Now on the Shure Beta 87A, another handheld condenser, 3 inches off, gain still set at 45 decibels. This microphone costs about $260, so a little bit more than the OM3. That's the Shure. Let's do 2 more. Now I am on the OM3 for the penultimate palette cleanser. Let's go to the second to last mic. Well, hello there. Now I am on the Neumann. Hello, Neumann. KMS105, another handheld condenser, 3 inches off, gain at 45 decibels, living a bit dangerously. This microphone costs $730, I think. So not a fair comparison, but there you go. KMS105, OM3. Let's do one more. And we have one final microphone to go. You know what it's going to be, so let's jump to it right now. I am on the Neumann. Hello, Neumann U87 Ai, 3 inches off, gain at 30 dB, which is a bit hot. Cardioid pattern, no pad, no filters. This microphone costs about $3,700, so a direct and fair comparison to the Audix OM3. Let's go ahead and jump to the music test because my mouth got clicky there and I am repulsed. If you hate me, then I understand. 'Cause I bit you just the other day, and I'm sure that I'll strike again. That's me singing a song to my tongue, because I bit it the other day, and since then I am in a perpetual state of biting my tongue, which I am unsure if it will ever end. This is the rest of my life. This is hell. So I wanted to publicly apologize to hopefully resolve the issue so I don't sound dumb all the time. Yeah, fat chance there. Okay, conclusion. Good gravy and sweet Alaskan asparagus tips. I have to say, this price bracket of $100 to $200 for handheld microphones is getting mighty crowded with a lot of good competition. And first up, as far as the pros for the OM3, I found the off-axis rejection and background noise rejection to be very admirable. Also, the build quality of this thing feels fantastic. I have zero complaints about it. Also, I didn't notice any ringing issues when I tapped on the body of the microphone, which is a good thing. Fourth, I will admit the mic does still sound bad when you completely cover the grill with your hand, but it does relatively well. I have heard much worse sounding mics when you do that. And then as far as the cons of the OM3, when you're right on top of the grill, I think the bass and low mids can be a little bit overpowering. And also, when I compared the handling noise rejection of this thing to 12 other handheld microphones, I don't think it came out anywhere near the top. All right, because this is a review, now I'm going to share my overall thoughts on the Audix OM3. I found that you get a very powerful low end in the bass and low mids, especially if you're close miking this thing. In certain instances, I found that it could even be a little bit overpowering, and then you're getting this really big lift in the upper mids and treble region, which gives you this very bright sound, but then you don't have too much of an airiness to it. It doesn't sound overly trebly or lively. It is much more lower treble and upper mid focused. On the electric guitar, I did not hate this thing. I thought it worked perfectly fine, and I would be more than happy getting that kind of tone out of my electric guitar. On the acoustic guitar, I really liked the attack that I was getting off of the strings, but like most dynamics, it just doesn't have the liveliest of sounds because it doesn't have that extension all the way up into the air frequencies like a condenser. For singing vocals, I think this thing has a really nice presence to it thanks to that upper mid and treble bump, but I found that if you got a little bit too close to this thing like you would on stage, that bass and low mids can be a little bit much. And lastly, for spoken word, if you're using the microphone at a little bit of a distance to try to reduce that proximity effect, I liked this all right. I think it gives you a very clear and intelligible sound, and it can work perfectly fine for this application. So, with all of that said, would I recommend the Audix OM3? It's a resounding sure, kind of, maybe, yes and no. I think this thing offers a perfectly acceptable tone when you're a little bit further from the microphone. If you're right on top of it, it does get a little bit overpowering in the bass and low mids. But if you throw on a high pass filter, that can resolve that a little bit. So if you're looking for more of that upper mid and treble boost sound out of your handheld dynamic, I really don't have any deal breakers for this microphone. So I think it's a perfectly fine option amidst the plethora, the sea, the gargantuan metric boatload of other alternatives out there. I think it's perfectly fine in that sea if that's the sound you're going for. However, if you are looking for a handheld microphone and your goal is to handhold it the entire time, then I think you may want to look elsewhere because of all the microphones that I compared it against, it certainly was not the best. So if that's important to you, I'd recommend watching the comparison of this mic to 12 other handhelds and see which one does a better job for you.